Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm here with Marisol Colette. If you're feeling stuck in your job and you're wanting to pursue an entrepreneurship journey, well, then today's your day. So without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, thank you for having me. So again, I'm Marisol Colette, and I am the fashion therapist. So what that means is that I have taken over 20 years of experience and training as a psychotherapist, and then married that with experience and training as a personal stylist. So I started out by dressing my friends for fun and for free, going into their closets, helping them find what they had, what they didn't have, what they needed, and helping them rework what they had in their closet. And the reflection I consistently got was, wow, I feel much more confident. I feel more like myself. I didn't realize that I had this potential in my closet. So there was something that was connecting them back to an authentic expression of themselves, back to themselves, and just really feeling like, oh yeah, I feel more confident to show up. I like what I look like, and I also feel really good in what I wear. So it's interesting because I went to art school for high school, and then I went to grad school to be a social worker, and I got a government job, the golden handcuffs. And while being straight out of grad school and getting this job, it was a great job for a social worker. It was a very coveted job for a social worker. I felt very lucky. I learned a lot. I would say that's probably where I got all my professionalism from to begin with, which is great because I come from a background of artists, and that's just our language is creativity. So it was great to have that structure. It also was a lot of structure. So while that was good for me in my early 20s, in some ways, it was extremely limiting. And I had that young mindset of I'm here to do good. I'm here to save the world as a social worker. I'm here to help everyone that I can help. And there's a lot I didn't know about what it meant to work in the federal government, in particular at the VA, which is very male dominated. So here I am, a 23-year-old gal. So what ended up happening is that more and more I recognized and heard the messages of like, stop being so much. And my boss at one point even said, you're a star and we don't have stars here. And the message I know it's awful. The message I consistently got was, tone it down. Let's just be like everybody else. And I mean that, let's be like everybody else, kind of militant in that way of let's work together and be unified like everyone else. And I can't, I simply cannot. I mean, here I am today wearing cow print and big gold earrings with the paint, I can't. And it also wasn't fair to my creativity to do it that way. So, sometimes people will say golden handcuffs, and then some people will say it's bronze, because there's a lot that you have to sacrifice in order to work for someone else to begin with, but also to work in the federal government. So I take this experience with my friends where I'm making them feel great, making them look good, they're having a great time. But again, their confidence is increasing because they are feeling like themselves. So that's where I think I started to recognize, oh, my training as a therapist, where I don't tell people how to act, how to feel, is now playing into helping people get dressed. I'm not telling them what to wear or how to look. I'm just eliciting from them their authenticity and then pairing that with what I see in their closet.
I love your story because, as a social worker, and I'm not, but I've studied sociology and watched, and we had to do a lot of volunteer work for people. And it's interesting because it is, I don't know, in a field, and you work for the VA, so it's a little different. But I think a social worker, like the kids who are taken from their parents or their different things. And It's it's so interesting because you should be an individual. You should know yourself. You should be okay, and that should be celebrated, especially with VA, like all the issues that they deal with all the time mentally, like they have to find their true self. And to be told, no, you need to be a number, you just need to fit in. That is difficult, first of all. So kudos to you that you were authentic and said, no, that's not me. The second thing is fashion. So, like, this is so timely and it always is. This is why I love my show because the people I get to talk to. So the other day, I had gone to Dillard's, I'll just say, with my sister-in-law. So she's trying to find this dress for her granddaughter's wedding. And she doesn't find anything, but I do, right? And so I'm like, "Do you mind if I take 5 minutes? I just try this on." And, like, there is a difference. I think sometimes we're taught, like, depending on your socioeconomic status, to go cheap, and cheap sometimes is frumpy. It's not necessarily stylish, but it's just plain Jane and cool. And so if you're raised like that, like I was, like, to spend a little more money is not okay. Now, granted, I got killer deal at Dillard's, but I was telling my sister-in-law because she's like, "Well, I never spend more than $20 on an outfit." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And, so we did find some $20 things there, but I said, it's interesting because every time I actually splurge and I wear something that's a little more expensive, I always get compliments. Like, there's something different. The fabric's different, the style's different. And she's like, "Oh, okay," and I'm like, "So, like, an extra 20 or $40 could make a difference." And so, as I'm thinking of this conversation and I'm walking out of my closet thinking, I got a lot of old stuff because even if you gain a little weight, the style is a lot different. It's like huge flowers, it's like bold color, like
Mm,
different things versus if you lose weight. And it's just interesting to be on that spectrum and say,
mhm.
okay, I need to start taking pride in how I look because my profession, you are judged on your first appearance. So, it's taking all of that into my brain as I'm thinking about the conversation, what transformations have you seen in women? Well, when they dress differently, when you help them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the name of the game, and that's the most beautiful part is just that at the end of the day, women are more successful, they are happier. If they're looking for love, they find love. They're more accepting in their bodies, which means they care less about what other people think of them. They love themselves more. They're healthier because their souls and their hearts are healthier. The mental chatter is gone. And this idea that we are supposed to look a certain way, isn't that interesting in particular since it doesn't actually fit with what an actual woman's body looks like, right? Or can look like. I mean, there's a 1% that looks like the standard, right? The social standard. But the rest of us, especially moms, like we have a belly, we have thighs, we have a butt, we're tired, we're gaining weight, losing weight, we're breastfeeding, blah, 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 right? Like there's everything. And that's what a woman's body can look like too. And so, okay, so if we're taught to spend all of our time doing such and such, the amount of brain space that takes up that could be applied somewhere else, like in love relationships, like in time with your child, like in work, in getting yourself out there, friendships, all of that. It's just completely siphoned off by this space that's taken up in your brain. So just the amount of success and expansiveness. I mean, I have had so many people come to me with something as simple as I get invited to go out with my friends all the time, and I don't take them up on it because I don't know what to wear. Which I know that these friends are not gonna judge them, but it's just the vibrancy, the vitality, the feeling that they would bring to it. If you're gonna start your period or it's just been a really long week, like, going out and you, like, can't keep up a great conversation like that, that's the impact of not feeling good in your outfit. Like, you're just not there. You don't have that spark and that confidence because you're messing with your shirt, feeling like you're trying to hide, all of those things. So I do want to track back for 1 second to just acknowledge that you thanked me or like congratulated me for leaving the VA. I was the first person that many people knew, especially because of my age, which I mean, I was like told, oh, you've got 30 years, you're going to get a great pension. But I was the first person who left. And then it was interesting. There was a bit of a ripple effect. And I think it was a little bit a sign of the times, but I did lead the way for some of the social workers to go into private practice and do their own thing. But it was so difficult. It felt so counterintuitive in some ways, like deeply intuitive, and then just the pain and the stress of, oh, I'm letting go of the golden handcuffs.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of empathy for people who have a lot of reason to stay where they're at. And also, I do wonder, so there's the socioeconomic component, there's other limitations, and there's also sometimes the mindset of that whatever's on the other side might be too hard to attain, might not be possible, etc. And then to the quality piece. So, yeah, there's so many ways around fast fashion. And there's so many ways around frumpy or having to fall into the box of like you wear extended sizing. So you're in a size 20 and all they have are the, synthetic, chiffon, loose, floral, like hiding the shirts that are attempting to hide the beautiful body that's underneath. And more importantly, like the beautiful person that's underneath. And then you're pigeonholed. There are so many ways around that. Fortunately, we have extended sizing coming out in so many different brands, which is phenomenal. It's been a long time coming, and they just need to continue to do that. We also can get talls. I'm 5 foot, so petites are really important. Like there are accommodations for those of us who don't fit into standard sizing, which is most of us. And and yeah, what were you gonna say?
I said it's so true. Standard
So
size? Yeah, uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, what is it? It's all a mess anyways. Um, so yeah, but then there's this quality question, right? Like we can't all afford. We're fresh out of school, we can't afford. We've got, multiple children that are in daycare we can't afford. Um, we we're oppressed in some way. We're a person of color that is oppressed in a particular community in some way we can't afford, right? Like there are lots of reasons to honor that fast fashion is the only way for some people. What you were talking about was carrying the old message into your current life.
Mhm.
What the growing up without a lot of money or taught that spending money on things like this is not worth it. That also falls into a very important topic of vanity and seeing clothes as vanity, right? I love people who are dismantling the idea that we have to look a certain way, we have to buy the most expensive thing, all of that. That is 100% necessary. But everybody has to get dressed every day. So if you want to wear, like if your vibe is Goodwill clothes, then you need to take that vibe to the top of your, like the top of your joy and wear the things that you love the most that make you feel the best, the colors, etc. It doesn't matter where you get it. And there are ways around it. I think you're right. If you spend $40 on something, not only are you going to feel better, but if the quality's higher, you're likely going to get more use out of it if you take care of it. And then also Goodwill and other thrift stores have plenty of treasures
We
that
love
are,
thrifting.
yeah, with tags on them.
Yes. No, that's my kids love to go to the thrift stores, and it's not I mean, it is. There's a lot of brand new stuff that has never been worn that is super cute. So thrifting is so much fun. Okay, so there's so many things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
To go back to the golden handcuffs real quick. It does. It takes because especially again, it comes back to your socioeconomic status and your mindset and how you were raised. Like you go to college and you get the job. And if it's a government job, like my dad worked for the government for 35, 40 years, and that's just what you did, and so it's stable. And so when I was working, because my husband wouldn't, I was the breadwinner, so I had to stay at this job. And looking back, since I quit, I've like doubled my income or more, tripled, quadrupled since I left that job every single year since.
Mm.
But that it's stable, it's okay type thing. It is hard sometimes for us to think about those things. And so anyway, I do admire the people that stick with it, but also that leave and follow their passion, which is what you did. So getting back to like the fashion part of it, what are some staples that, because like when I get dressed up to go to work and I come home and I'm like undressing
Oh, yeah.
sweats and
Yeah, get me
sweatshirts,
out of it. Get me out of
right,
it.
as I'm walking upstairs, because if you stay it, you clean, like you get it dirty, and I don't want that. And my husband's like, "Oh, I don't get to see you before you're frumpy again," or whatever. And so, what are the staples that we should absolutely have in our closet that could go be versatile?
Yeah. So, post COVID, comfort and classy comfort is definitely part of the landscape now because people got really used to being able to wear sweatpants. However, after, the novelty of that wore off, people were like, "Oh, I roll out of bed into work and like I'm not really changing my hat to change my mood and my mindset. And then now I'm just sort of rolling out of work and then like it just starts to feel like one continuous blur really."
Mhm.
And so that, it's really valuable to get dressed and kind of put on like I'm going to work, I'm going out with friends, like it just changes your mood. Okay, so but to answer your question, here's what I would say is no matter what you're wearing, sweats or anything, you can still look elevated and great. Like you don't have to be wearing the old ratty sweats just because quote unquote nobody's going to see you because maybe somebody in your house is going to see you, but also you're going to see you. And what I like to call, I don't know why this is coming to me, but pooty booty, which is where your pants start to drag in your butt at the end of the day because you're sizing up because you think you're bigger than you are, or you just like the quality is less, so it's relaxes over the course of the day. My sweatpants with pooty booty, like I'm not feeling good, even if I'm home alone. I feel I don't feel good. And so, one thing that can be really helpful as far as a staple is honestly just knowing your colors. Knowing your colors can be really valuable because the way that I utilize colors is not as a rule, but as an ally. So today, for example, we're getting ready to go out of town, and I just did not sleep well last night. I have so much on my mind. So I got up, I curled my hair, that was part of it, and I put on this wild cow print dress because I needed something. I needed something. I was dragging. And I will also use complementary colors as a way of making me look less tired or when I'm on stage at a speaking engagement to really make me pop and stand out from everybody else who might be speaking at that event. So it honestly, it can be, I feel like I could wear, because I'm a platinum summer, I feel like I could wear a light pink metallic potato sack and I would look good. And so that's what I mean by color can really support us. It's like, I have my Saturday morning jammies, but they're my colors. So I look great.
I love that. The
Yeah.
So platinum summer, like how do you find those words and
You
colors?
call me.
Okay.
I mean, there are the 4 seasons and then there's like more traditional sub seasons. But then it can get even more specific, like very, very specific. So
Okay, so let's talk about that business side of things. How did like how do you get your clients?
mhm. So, word of mouth, but also I have incredible SEO. I have a woman who actually a lot of the moms might know her. She has the Instagram Kids Eat in Color. So, if people are raising littles right now, she talks about picky eating. She talks about ways to give them particular, like certain nutrition. In like when they're not interested in eating a broccoli, like what are the vitamins and minerals in that broccoli? How do you get that in them using something else that might be more palatable? Like lots and but beyond that, she's incredibly talented and so smart. And she just wrote a book that's launching any day now. So she Googled because the stress of getting dressed was so worthless, right? Like that that would be any focus for her whatsoever. And it just didn't come natural. And she's just like, I'm on Instagram, I'm speaking, I'm launching this book, I'm doing photo shoots, and it's debilitating, right?
Mm.
She actually Googled therapist and stylist, and I came up. I'm the only one that I know of that has the credentials backing it. I think all stylists can be very thoughtful and considerate it from an emotional standpoint. Like not everybody, but a lot. But that's what she was looking for. And so that worked. And then, but she also put it out on Instagram, and somebody responded to her that to call me. And I live in North Carolina. She lives in DC. So that was, that was how that worked. And then I ended up getting, I've had these little buckets, and my husband and I talk about this all the time because I can feel when that season is going to end, like they're moving on to do something else, or like our lives are just going in different directions. And I'm always like, babe, I'm losing my main referral source, and he's like, you've always got a bucket. And then he kind of goes down the list, and he's like, so and so was your bucket this year, and so was your bucket for that 5-year period. And like, so, but it is it is really important, word of mouth, because one of my main leads for a while that really expanded my business outside of my city was a woman that had come from LA. She worked in Hollywood. She did design work for those posters that are in the theaters when you walk in, when you see the movie poster. And then, but she also is a photographer and in general, just an incredible creative director. So she was looking for a stylist to contract with. And she had, because of her time in LA and Hollywood, a really big reach. So there was a lot I didn't know. She had really high expectations for me. She needed me to get certain programs and things to be able to work for her. And she was very clear about what she needed me to do. And I just walked my way through it. I was like, sure, I will do whatever it is that you're asking, because I recognize that this is going to be an incredible boost for my business. And so then we worked with folks internationally, Tasmania, Israel, Tokyo, all over Europe, Majorca. So lots of places. And that came through her. And then she restructured her business to not do that particular program anymore. And so while we stay in contact and she refers me occasionally through her new work that she's doing, that lead went. But now I have all of these people all over. I just cannot stress enough the importance of a network
Mhm.
and saying what you do and what you need. Like just being really upfront. Like I am looking for a client, blah, 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 or I want to start this business. Just keep saying it, both from the like bringing it to reality perspective, but also because you never know who knows somebody.
Speaking about that, the Think and Grow Rich, I'm listening to it again on audio, and they talk about, like, even chapter one, it says declare, right? So, what
Mm,
do you want? Say it in the morning, say it in the evening, like,
mm,
say it. And it's because when you declare it, like, yes, you can write it down. That's a huge step. But if you're now saying it, especially if you have the guts to go on social media and, like, say, this is who I'm looking for, that's great advice to actually just, like, say who you want as a client.
mm, mm,
And the
mhm,
nurturing part of your network, like, it's easy. I mean, I go to things all the time, these conferences, I get contacts, and we exchange information, but do you ever follow up afterwards? I'm asking my listeners to take it to the next step, and then to try to, like, once a quarter, just keep in touch, or even every 6 months, just so that you stay top of mind. Because if you don't, as Grant Cardone says, "If they don't know you, they can't flow you." And so that is something that is great advice, so thank you for that.
yeah, and I was talking with a friend of mine who's an incredibly successful realtor, luxury home realtor, and she said, she was like, "Yeah, I had 91 touch points with my clients last year." 91. That meant sending them the schedule for the local baseball team,
Mhm.
sending them an email. Some of the things were bigger, like mailing them something. She's got all their birthdays, wishing them happy birthday. 91 touch points per client. That's crazy. And that was so inspiring. I was like, oh, okay. Touch points. I'm always on their mind. I'm always on their mind. And I will say, if somebody has the luxury of starting to work on their business, I don't know if they would consider it a luxury, because it is a lot of work to do this while you're fully, like, have a full-time job, but you can start slow. So you go to a networking event, there's 100 people there, 50 people there. You do not have to reach out to all of them. You pick
Right.
one.
Mhm.
And like you said, you nurture that relationship.
Mhm.
You follow up with it. Now that I have, my business is where it's at, I have my assistant preps all of those emails for me. Hey, I met this person. This is what we're doing. This is what I want to talk to them about. She writes the email. I go in and edit for to make it more like relate back to the connection that we had, so that it's not a that is also very important, so that it's not an email that came from somebody who didn't meet them. I'll say something about, and again, I loved your shoes. Like if we connected over that, for example. But yeah, I have somebody else do all that for me. So if you're well into your business and you're finding yourself just uh, inundated with the daily operations, I would outsource those touch points. Like have your assistant send them the baseball schedule or whatever it is that's meaningful.
So do you work from home then?
I work, I travel, especially because I do a lot of work with clients who are doing photo shoots, like branding and marketing photo shoots, and I like to be on set for those if possible. So I travel. I mainly work from home. When I first left the VA, the first thing I did to make money after getting cancer, which is like I laugh, but um, it was not life threatening at the time, and at the risk of turning people off from a woo woo perspective, I really believe that it was a manifestation of like like the parts of me that I was turning off. And I think it festered. Now, of course, I got, Western medical attention, but I also made some spiritual changes and really tuned into what my body was trying to say. It just, the way that the fact that it showed up, like I found out the month after I left, it just, there was no question for me that those were related, and it's never come back. 10 years last year was 10 years. Like, I don't think it's coming back. I'm living an incredible life. And if it does, I'll, I'll navigate it. But the first thing I did was start a private practice because I have my license. So I just did therapy because I knew I could just at least make some money. I had an office for probably about 6, 7 years. But I like working from home, and then I'm in people's closets and all that when I'm local and shopping with people.
So does your assistant, is it a VA assistant, or does your assistant come to your house, or do they work from home?
They are virtual, but I have flown her out many times for different things. Like I had her go shopping with me once. I had double booked myself for a speaking engagement and a photo shoot. So I had her sub in for the photo shoot while I popped over and did a speaking engagement. She is coming to Italy with me. I'm leading a retreat in Italy in April, a shopping, it's a style and soul retreat. So there's rest and respite in Tuscany, but there's also front end, a little bit of shopping in Milan and Florence that I'm curating for people.
Oh, fun.
So she's coming. So she's mostly virtual, and she does VA, like administrative pieces, but she also does creative operations, and she does assistant styling. She's a unicorn. And then the ideal will be that I need to rehire the admin person who's just doing kind of more of a taskmaster, and that person will be completely virtual. I don't need,
Mhm.
yeah, don't need it in
That's
person.
so cool, 'cause, having an assistant is so important, especially
Yeah.
as you continue to scale and grow, so that's good.
And it is, I made that leap. I had my 10 years last year, and I made that leap. Um, I made that leap to hire her full time. And, she lives in New York. So I needed to support that salary if I wanted to keep her. And I did. And I got that funny pressure that we get sometimes, like with the cancer. It was like, oh, now you need medical help. You should go back to the VA where you have great benefits. There was that like test that we get so often. And with her, that first 3 months, the phones hardly rang. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am hemorrhaging money to not have the phones ringing. And then what happened is that the phones rang off the hook 3 months in, because she was actually able to help me get farther along to a bigger vision, because I mean, with anybody who wasn't working full time, I was just like in the daily. My mind was only focused on getting through one day at a time. So it's worth it, right? It's a risk. It's a lot of money. And I even said to her, I was like, I'm going to do this, even if I have to go into a little bit of debt because I believe where we're headed. And it didn't take long at all.
That's so cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're so out of time, but really quick,
Yeah.
because we haven't talked about the mom side of things real quick. And so, as a mom, you mentioned that you're traveling, and I'm super interested in your your retreat. That's cool. But as a mom, like it's hard, especially if you travel. There's a time where I was traveling every 2 weeks, and so my kids, I look at them. My youngest is now 10. I'm like, oh, where's the time gone? Like that's as much time as I've been in my business as well. And so, what do you do to not have that mom guilt?
Yeah. I would say it's less guilt and more just that pain, that heartbreak. I ask myself often, I'm like, here you are heading towards the peak of your career that was your baby before you had a baby. And now you have a baby or a child, and they are both full-time jobs. I mean, he's in preschool, but it's full-time your heart is full-time in it. And so I check myself regularly around, when I look back, what am I going to want? When he looks back, what is he going to remember? So, yeah, I mean, I pace myself. This will be a really long trip to be away from him. It's not going to feel good. I cry before I leave, not from guilt, just because I want to be with him. I also had the experience when he was first born so we did IVF. We were doing IVF.
Mhm.
We were in like an 8-year fertility journey, and we got so fortunate to have him. And then I had a really complicated pregnancy where they were thinking he might come at 25 weeks. But he didn't. And then we had a very laborious birth, 2 full days of like, I was fortunate that my doctor let me stay in it that long and everybody was fine. And then I had significant depression, postpartum depression, and I didn't like being a mom. And the first thing I did to settle my own system was go back to work. I was like, I need to take on a couple clients because I, it's the only place I'm good at right now. And then as he's gotten older and I moved through that really difficult first bit of postpartum time, now I'm every second I can get with him. But at first it was actually a reprieve for me. And I just had to be honest about that. I'm watching all these other moms and they're just staying home and they love their babies so much and I'm struggling. So I do my best, and I'm going to go to Dallas in June, and my family's going to come with me because that's where I'm from originally. And so they're going to come. We just go together.
Yeah. I love your vulnerability because we
Mm.
as women, it's like that TV show, right? The 1950s TV show that it's the dutiful mom that all she does is, and I don't mean it like that, but she takes care of the family. She gets up and she has breakfast perfectly made for her kids, and
Mhm.
all their hair is perfectly done. Their clothes are perfectly pressed, and then they get to go to school, and then they come home and there's snacks, and then there's and the house is perfect. Like that's my image of how I would like. I wasn't raised like that, but that's the image that
How we thought. No, that was the
yeah.
image.
And so I love that you're so honest about how you didn't like being a mom and like you've grown into it. But there is such a spectrum of mothers and where we are. And so, like, there was a time, I mean, my whole dream was to be a stay at home mom. And then I was a stay at home mom. And I'm like, I'm going to go crazy, you know? And so I'm like, but if I were to, then my house would be clean. But that's not fulfilling to me.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. You
And
changed your
so
mind. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that that is probably as a mother and as an entrepreneur, that's where the spectrum you have to figure out where you're at on that line because
Yeah.
and to compare yourself to another mom, you can't do that. You can't because we are all different. And quite frankly, you don't know what she's going through either. She's putting on
That's
her
right.
happy face. Like as I talk about the iceberg, she's totally putting on her happy face just to get through it. So
Yeah.
I love that you shared that story, and you have had quite an array of things. So,
Yeah, we've been through some. Yeah. I will say one thing just as we end, if you don't mind, about going through IVF postpartum. I gained like 50 pounds. And again, remember, I'm 5 foot. So that was, it was much different body than I currently have. And I didn't do anything to try to lose it. In fact, I probably gained a fair amount of weight even beyond that because I was really trying to produce milk, which I did not produce as much to feed him as he needed. So, milk cookies were my best friend. Plus, they're delicious, and you're exhausted. Milk cookies are so good. Um, and and so, anyways, I say all that to say I kept showing up on social media all the time. I had milk stains down the front of my shirt. That was a social media post. I remember one where I was wearing a body chain and a kind of a sexy bra. And I was like, just like bigger in my body. And I was like, I need to feel good today. I'm putting on this bra. But like, I showed up at every stage, exhausted through the IVF process, very real and raw, sometimes a little tear stained, but I did it because I needed to feel good as I possibly could in my body. And that really built a lot of trust with a lot of my mom clients because they were like, you don't know what it's like to do this. There's no way I could get dressed
Mhm.
having a baby. And I did it to the best of my ability. So I showed that it is possible to have the pair of sweats that's just the different color. Just go for the color. Don't go for the black ones if that's not the right color.
I love that, as I'm wearing black ones right now.
Oh, whatever. Whatever.
Usually brown, but yeah, so many things. Well, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Yes. Let me just double check my tiny URL. Thank you. Because I created a little tiny URL. So the Soul Reflection. So my name is Marisol. So SOL Reflection singular. So not reflections. soulreflection.com/closet. That's a free self-guided closet inventory. So you can go through your own closet and then you'll get emails from me that invite you to reach out to me if you would like me to support you going through your closet, or a single consultation is also an option. And then if you're ready to do a larger wardrobe assessment, I'm definitely here for that as well. After Italy in April. I don't know when this is coming out, but after Italy in April.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for being on. So
Yeah.
many good conversations. Thank you.
Yeah. You're so welcome.
And Unbreakable Moms, it is okay to be vulnerable. But second of all, dress for success. And whatever that means to you, it could be color, like you talked about, it could be style. But highly recommend you at least get one consultation in with Marisol. And if not, just take care of yourself and realize that you're doing a good job. So go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.